Welcome to Pods with Posh and Paul, a podcast designed to inspire and challenge listeners through story, experience and insight. To face adversity, learn from suffering and discover how to embrace life with a heart filled with love and gratitude. We are so thrilled to have you journey with us and can't wait to share your stories. Join Sue O'Callaghan and Joanne Webb as we disrupt the theory that everyone has perfect lives.
Hi, welcome to day 23 of our COVID chats, and we have with us Travis, a local business owner. Hi Travis, nice to have you with us.
Hi Joe, hi Sue.
Right, Travis, we've seen your lovely clip on Facebook giving some advice and your years of wisdom to business owners, and it was heartfelt and it was spiritual and it was lovely. So could you just tell us where you are on day 23 in business and what you think where we need to set plans for going forward to get out of this situation that we're in?
Thanks for your kind introduction, and thank you for having me on. Where I'm at personally right now is I'm starting to get a little bit excited. I feel like as a small business owner, I've been sitting on the sidelines and watching our amazing health workers and supermarket workers and emergency services all being out on the field playing their part, and very soon, and I don't know when, it'll be my role and other small businesses' role to step out and play our part in caring for society. And so that's right now I'm feeling a bit excited, and I'm also feeling some fear, because I keep having to remind myself that it won't be as normal. Everything has changed in the last, month or so. So, excitement and fear on day 23. That's where I'm at, yeah.
And in your first recording that you've done, Travis, you talk beautifully about that fear. You have a lovely sense of integrity and being able to be vulnerable in fear. And you talk us through 4 different steps that worked for you in trying to overcome fear of the future, fear of it. What would you do in terms of employing staff? Do you let staff go? Where's your business going to move to, shift to? What is it going to translate into? Is it going to survive? Can you just talk us through those 4 steps that empowered you?
I don't remember them, so
Shall I remind you?
No, I can talk to where I guess right now. So right now, I know that fear has its place. It's a useful emotion, and so I observe that I've got it, and then I think, hey, what's the message it's trying to send to me, and what am I trying to do here? So in this sense, it's the good part of it is it's waking me up to things have changed, and it's I guess a desire to protect. Where I don't want it to take me is to protect really small, so just myself and my family, and not go beyond my family to my staff, to my suppliers, to my customers, and to the community. So the fear is good in that it's bringing up my desire to, I guess, be safe and protect, but not so good if it has me become very insular and inward looking. And I've often remind myself, in order to be courageous, I must first be fearful, because you can only be courageous and brave if there's fear to move through. So my relationship today with fear is really, I don't know how things are going to look or when I'm going to open my doors. Yeah, but I'm pretty excited, and it's my intention to be generous and kind and outward looking when I do open.
I think that's a lovely message, because fear brings up certain connotations for people, but actually fear can be really healthy, like you say. How can we be courageous if we don't know what fear is? Because the two go hand in hand. And you said something earlier to us when we were chatting, and your words were, in business now, you feel like people need to be brave and we need to care beyond ourselves. And I really like that. It was really heartfelt. And I think you're right. Going forward, And actually, it's what we should have been doing anyway. Businesses need to be brave, and they need to care outwardly. They need to care about their customers, their suppliers, their staff. And by the sounds of it, that's in the direction that you're going.
Yeah, I think what I said, or something I said in my first talk that I'm really present to in business. There's a couple of equities. There's there's your financial equities, your how much money do you have, how much debt do you have available, etc. So that's sort of financial equity. But in business and in life, there's another equity, and that is I guess my mana, my standing, all of my relationships. The sum of all my relationships would probably sum up my equity as a man or as a person. So right now, my financial equity is going wah, but I can build my personal equity by kindness. I think I love the Maori term manaakitanga, and for me personally, that kind of speaks to my own mana or essence, and is enhanced if I continue to have the discipline of care for the mana of anybody who's in front of me. So be they anybody at any level or vulnerability or misfortune, my own mana is enhanced if I always have the discipline to care for who's standing in front of me. Yeah.
And I think that's really key, isn't it? Whether we're in business or listeners coming from different situations, to remain in integrity, to remain in authenticity, and to remain in the simplicity of the situation that we're in, because our listeners will be in very complex, very different situations. And I think, so many struggles out there, and you speak beautifully about, you also, when you talk about fear, you talk about there's a period of time between the stimulus, the fear, and the response that we make to it. And you talk about that space in the middle, which is really lovely. And you also have a great quote from Viktor Frankl, who says, in the space is our power to choose our emotional response. And in that response lies our freedom. And whether we're at home right now in lockdown, whether we're an essential worker out there, we've got that space between the fear and our response. And it's what we do in the middle, isn't it? It's what we choose to do with that that's really important.
Yeah. And I think we wake up some days where we might be a bit agitated or irritated or grumpy, and then other days we wake up and that space between stimulus and response is really big, and we just show compassion for those around us, patience, grace, all of those good words, and this is a time of pressure and crisis where it would be easy for that space to get really small or not exist, as we're worried about our own well-being and those dear to us. And it'll take a lot of discipline and strength to grow that, to keep that patience. And people grow that in different ways. I think it's part of maturing is to grow that space. People use meditation or nature, exercise, music. There's animals, whatever their religious beliefs are. There's lots of different ways and unique ways to grow that space. But yeah, I'm aware for myself, just observing my emotional responses and breathing and going, okay, chill. Show some compassion. You don't know what's going on for that person. Yes, they haven't behaved in a good way, but respond in the way that I aspire to be, I guess, as a person.
Yeah. It's not always easy, though, is it? Because when you're in that place of pain or the fear of losing a business, you're in a place of terror. It can be really bleak. It can be black and it can be dark. It can be overwhelming in the sense you can wake up in the morning with depression and not wanting to get out of bed, not want to face it. So what would you say to listeners who are in that place where they see that space and they actually can't see the hope the other side of it? How do you get to that place where you can just breathe and just do one moment at a time? That's such a hard thing to do.
Yes, it's for me that whole emotional response it's like physical exercise. It takes discipline and practice and effort. Some of the things I do is I unlike a lot of men, and particularly I think well, I won't judge it. Unlike a lot of men, I'm quite communicative and prepared to be vulnerable with my mates. So I will tell them that I'm upset about something or worried about something. And I think the great paradox for men is, and I still have this story that making myself vulnerable makes me less manly, but actually how it lands with the person that I'm making myself vulnerable to is they feel trusted, they feel closer to me, they feel empathetic. But it takes immense courage for me to still overcome all of that conditioning as a man, that I shouldn't share or communicate. And I still feel there's beauty in men's quietness and stoicism and sucking it up and getting on with it. So there's immense beauty in that power as well. But perhaps consider as a business person, and as a man, yes, when all of those things are coming at you, a problem shared is a problem halved. And so, perhaps as business owners, you're connecting with people right now, get into some sort of ritual or routine of checking in with each other daily or weekly or every couple of days. How are things going with you? What have been your highs and lows for the week? What have been your challenges? That practice may provide some comfort and solace and hope.
I think that's a beautiful, beautiful message, especially for men, because, us women, and it's a generalization, obviously, but us women are talkers. We like to yap a lot, and we have girlfriends, and it's what we do. Whereas men go to the pub and they talk about sport and whatever, and it's never really been encouraged for them to be open and to talk. Because you're right, there is that stigma there that it becomes less of a man. And I just think you're right. There's beauty in stoicism, but there's also beauty in sharing and being vulnerable. And actually, men don't feel less of a man when they're sharing. It actually brings out their caring nature, and we all have that masculine, feminine energy as well. And it just brings the yin and the yang to the table, doesn't it? And I think we started this podcast to our main driving force was to try and reduce teen suicide statistics here in New Zealand, but also there's the amount of suicides within the male side of things as well. And it's shocking. And I think if men were encouraged from a young age to share, then that can kind of lessen some of the burden that they carry around on their shoulders. Because, as men as well, often they're the breadwinners, they go out to work while their wife stays at home. There's a lot of going on. So if you can share either in business or in pleasure, I think it's really important.
And if you can't share because that's not your way, and that's okay, I think even just showing up. I remember a while back, a friend who had quite a high position in the education system rang one Tuesday night and said, "Oh, do you want to have a beer?" And I said, "Yeah." And my wife said to me when I got off the phone, she said, "Who was that?" And I said, "It was such and such, and he's asked for a beer." And she said, "You better go. You're not having a beer, eh?" I said, "Yeah, I know. It'll probably be a cup of coffee." And when we got together, we didn't share, but I showed up, and he had the courage to go, "Do you want a beer?" Which he just wanted to get. He just wanted a connection, I think. So, yes, we could encourage men to share, but it may not be right for them right now. So just showing up. There's immense enjoyment and comfort from male friends getting together and being shallow and giving each other a bit of stick. And I certainly really enjoy that. And my wife rolls her eyes but knows that it's good for me.
Absolutely, because there's horses for courses, isn't there? And we need that fun aspect. We need that self-deprecating or taking the mickey out of each other, because that's what brings us to life. It's joyful, it's fun. But showing up is great. And your earlier message was great as well, saying, you admit yourself, it takes personal discipline and it takes practice to keep showing up, to keep being vulnerable, because these things aren't easy. So if we can get these baby steps, as you say, if the baby step is just showing up, great, pat yourself on the back for that. No, you don't have to pour your heart out straight away, but if you can just say one sentence here and there, just try it. Pop your toe in the water and see how it feels.
And something I'm really present to from this conversation for business owners is maybe, and it's almost a little bit like with, you know, you're talking about. I know you've got a passion for youth and feel the pain and hurt of suicide. Something I've been involved in, I guess, men's community work for years, and something that I'm aware of is it's not just about saying, you can talk to me, you can reach out, I'm here for you. You actually need to create the practices, rituals, and disciplines that get you together. So, you know, I have those in my life. So, you know, I have mates that I call, you know, we call each other regularly. I sit with a group of guys on every Tuesday night and we talk about things. Mark's one of those guys. I think you had him on an interview recently, Mark Mandy. Yeah. What a beautiful man. So, and I've said this to my male friends before, it's not enough to say, oh, you can reach out, you can talk to me. Actually, there was I think it was a Harvard study on happiness. And one of the things they looked at for men is one of the key indicator of or one of the key indicators of stress, high BMI, and dying 22% earlier was men who did not keep in touch with their male friends. And that is because there's been, as societies change, men have really valued themselves in their vocation and as fathers, and those are honourable. But they've done it to the detriment where they almost feel guilty about going out and having a weekly beer with their mates, and you know they think that is at the cost of fatherhood or at the cost of their professional vocation, where actually it's mutually beneficial. Their mental health by catching up with their male friends, as that study from Harvard has shown, that, you know, they live 22% longer, they have lower stress levels and better BMI, simply by catching up with their mates once a week. Sorry, I got off on a tangent there.
That's okay.
No, it's great. I think also your message there is that you need to be proactive, and that takes courage, doesn't it? If you're sitting at home and you're not feeling connected, you need to be proactive. You need to do something about it. You need to pick up the phone. You need to send an email. You need to gather a group together. And I say that to my teenage boys, you know, when they say, oh, if I phone so-and-so, they might not want to see me. And I said, well, if they phone you, would you want to go out tonight to the cinema? And they say, yes, absolutely. So I say, well, it's exactly the same. You've got to be proactive.
Yep. What I would say to your teenage boys is, hey, why don't you have a day a week where you have 3 mates around and you cook? Or why don't you have, what about on Sunday afternoons is your, so create the ritual rather than the, you know, and I've got a teenage boy man creature through the wall over there. Rather than, you know, get out of the house and see your mates, it's good for you. If we can have them create that that ritual that they love each week, you know, off to the cricket nets, or this is the afternoon where I kick a ball around with my mates, or here's where we goof around in Sue's kitchen and make a hell of a mess of it, but we cook our dinner that night. So it's the ritual that then doesn't require the courage and the discipline to reach out, because you've made it a ritual of having, you know, healthy connection in your life.
And rituals, again, coming back to business, are really important. I mean, you said I listened yesterday to your last little chat that you've done, which I just love. And you talk about making decisions beyond your personal self-interest for the greater interest of others. And you talk about self-sacrifice, but also to make conscious decisions about other people and to look after your staff, for example, in your business. We need to take care of ourselves. It always comes back to taking care of ourselves, doesn't it? Because we need to be selfish about ourselves in order to be able to put ourselves out there completely.
Yeah, there's a bit of a paradox there, which I think I can sit with, and that is, I can't care for others unless I care for myself.
Yeah.
But I think Tolstoy has a quote that man finds true happiness in rendering service to his neighbour, and he finds it there because it honours the divine connection between them, or something like that.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is it speaks to, yes, I need to care for myself, but I'm a social animal. You know, humans are social animals, and I experience that connection with others when I'm of service to them. So it's not naive to actually go beyond myself in a business sense and help people. It's actually really, really good for my own happiness and well-being. You know, that, you know, man finds true happiness, that Tolstoy quote. And from a business sense, you know, my experience in a variety of businesses is what I think may be a short-term bit of generosity on my part, and it's not doing it for anything in return. It's doing it because it's the right thing to do. Inevitably humbles me with what comes back my way. It's, you know, it's incredible. I can think of some instances really recently that have almost brought tears to my eyes of generosity that have come back to me, because some time back I just did what I thought was the right thing in the moment.
Yeah. And I think that's the key message to our listeners in business, is that true leadership comes by serving others and empowering them in their place of work or identity through having done our own work ourselves. And I love it when we asked for a bio about you to come onto the podcast, the first thing you said was, I love my life as it is, which clearly means you are on that personal journey to explore who you are and connect with that divine love. And when we connect with it, then we can empower others through leadership, through mentoring, which is what we're all about.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of leaders, and the most significant part of leadership is firstly to really, really get inside yourself and take a look at all of those things you don't necessarily want to take a look at. You know, why do I react or respond this way in this situation? You know, where's that from? What's that about? How do I, okay, now that I know that, how can I respond differently in the future?
Yeah.
How can I always have the discipline of, when somebody behaves poorly, to think to myself, not to go immediately into judgment of, you know, oh, they're a dick, but to go, gee, I wonder what's going on for them that they might behave that way. And it's incredible with staff members when they behave in a way that is not enriching, and it's incredible when you say to them, hey, are you okay? Because this is what I know about you. This is what I, you know, like about you, da, da, da. What just happened then, or what happened yesterday, is kind of landed a bit differently to me. Are you okay? And rather than, you know, why did you do that? Why did you break that? You can't do that. And it's just, as soon as you say, are you okay? Then it's just like, oh yeah, I didn't want to share, but I've got all this stuff going on, and that's why I was short with that person and yelled at them, or snapped at that customer, or da da da. And you go, yeah.
So how you behave is congruent with who you are. You're talking about authenticity, you're talking about integrity, you're talking about remaining in truth. What is true for you in that moment? And I think that's coming back to business again. What is true for you business owners right now, with the circumstances that you face, in the situation that you're in? What remains true to you in how you can proceed and move forward from here?
Good question, Sue. One thing I'd invite business owners to consider, which I've been thinking, is, why do I do the business that I do? You know, what is the part of it that brings me a lot of happiness and pleasure? So my business is a hospitality business, and as you've gauged in this conversation, I love people. So why wouldn't I have a business that brings people together? So you know, talking to you know, I was watching your talk with Mark the other day, and I could just see him light up when he talked about those moments where he saw teenagers through the adventure experience that he gave them. Teenagers all of a sudden get this air of self-confidence and resilience and self-belief, and yeah. So in this time of crisis, you know, for Mark to return back to what his calling is, for me to go, well, actually, I love bringing people together. I do it in work, I do it in charity, I do it in social organisations. That's my gig. I just love loving connection. And so for any business owner, you know, if you're a creative, or if you're a mechanic, or maybe breathe deeply and get back in touch with what it is you love about your business, and use that as the fuel, the inspiration, almost the rock to hold on to in the storm. You know, the money bit, you know, first we've got to survive. So, you know, be talking to your bank, be talking to your landlord, be talking to your staff, be talking to your suppliers, and within your means, work that puzzle out, and then focus on doing what you love and get back to what you love. And that'll, yeah.
I think it's a lovely message, because anything we need to do in life, we need to find out what our why is, why we're doing it. Because you're right, that is our driving force. That shows where our passion is. And so now, you're right, if business owners are sitting at home now, go back to the basics, because we can get caught up in all of those financial things, making a profit, doing our KPIs, blah, 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 you know, all of that business jargon. But actually go back to the basics, find out what is your why.
With this hospitality business I've got, I sold a business a while back, and my kids were older, and my wife and I decided that I was just going to do some consulting, some leadership work and that sort of thing. And then this new business, this opportunity came up, and my wife was like, and you know, I presented all the financials to her, and, you know, she cleverly, you know, picked holes in all of that. And then she said to me, "Travis, are you excited?" And I said, she goes, "Okay." And, you know, and one of the reasons I love her so much is she set aside her own fear to allow me to pursue my excitement. But she also had the wisdom to know that it was that excitement and that enthusiasm in starting a new business, which is basically almost what we're doing when we go to level 3 and level 2. We're starting a new business. It's the enthusiasm and excitement that will get us through, because right now I've spreadsheeted how everything might look, and there'll be so much that'll be wrong, and that's okay. In my old army days, it was like no plan survives first contact with the enemy. And in a business sense, when I opened my last business, I said to my team, no business plan will survive first interaction with the customer. And sure enough, I'd made a whole lot of bad assumptions, but most of my assumptions were really, really good. And that's what'll happen in a week or 2 or 3 or 4's time, when, as a hospo business, I can't see me probably opening for at least a month, because we're all about social contact, and we need to wait. But business owners, remember why you love what you're doing, and remember that you've started a business before, you've done this before, you and I have done this before. Remember your passion, remember you've done it before, and go in there, and, you know, get your social connections of friends who you trust and love, who you can catch up with regularly. And what are your highs, what are your lows, you know, what's scaring you, what's exciting you.
Oh, thank you so much. I think, you know, we could actually talk to you for hours, because it's so interesting, but I think we will leave our listeners on them final points. Thank you for your last message, and thank you for all of your time today.
Thank you for all you're doing, ladies. It's amazing. I just loved watching your interview with my friend Mark, who I thought I knew well and learnt even more about. Your ability to listen, care, extract is beautiful. Thank you.
Well, we also love what we do. We love connecting people and hearing real stories, putting the message out there that nobody's got a perfect life, and how do we work through the situations that we face. So thank you so much for sharing your incredible wisdom, excitement, and enthusiasm with us today. Thanks, Travis.
See ya. Look forward to having a drink after this.
Thanks so much for being with us today. For us to inspire others to live their magnificently imperfect life, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes or on your podcast app. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Pods with Posh and Pool. We can't wait for you to join us on our next episode. Love, light and peace.